Shalom, friends! Welcome to Orange Socks, a podcast celebrating Jewish creativity. I'm your host, Yitzchak Muli, inviting you to join me in exploring the soul of Jewish expression. Shalom, friends! Welcome to the Orange Socks podcast, and I am back in Yerushalayim. Very special. Today, I was in Tzfat, so I got two of the holy cities in one day, and walking through the old city of Tzfat, I past your gallery. I'm sitting with Sheva Chaya. Beautiful sign, beautiful entryway to Sheva Chaya's glass. And I'm like, oh, hey, I gotta come in. So I stopped in and said, I'd love to catch up and have you on the podcast. And said, but I'm running away to Yerushalayim, and here we are. You made it to Yerushalayim tonight, so we're in for a treat. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. We've crossed paths a while back.
Yes, many years ago.
Many years ago. We're thank God there's a growing number of Jewish Jewish artists, but there's still a few of us. So yeah, right. we've crossed paths, and we. But tell me more. Tell us more about how you got into doing what you're doing, and a bit of your journey, how you ended up in Tzfat, of all places. I think that's where every good Jewish artist wants to end up, possibly. So tell us a little bit.
Okay. Well, I got into art, officially I got into art when I was in college. I think all kids do art and like art until some adult might tell them, that's not how you do it. And somehow I got past that phase, and in college, I wasn't looking to become an artist, but actually just before college, I was kind of finished with classes in high school a semester early, and I had a semester to take a few classes. I thought, I'll take a drawing class, not thinking, much about it. And I really loved the class. I loved the drawing, the experience of looking and learning to look, and a little bit of technique. And I really liked the people. I liked that there was this, creative, searching, open energy, and exploring, kind of like a brave energy that I really liked. And it really struck me. So I thought, when I go to college, I should take an art class, because who knows who I'll meet, and I'm enjoying it.
It's a good environment to be around.
Yeah. And so I did. I went to Princeton for college. I grew up in Denver, and I did. I decided to take an art class, and the first art class, we'll leave that to the side. But the second year, I took a painting class. Since that class, I've been doing art.
Wow.
That painting class, just the professor just really got us thinking and looking. And I really enjoyed it a lot, and found this whole realm of meaning in art, because I thought before, I think most people think, art it's like a side hobby. It's cute. It's for kids. Nothing too serious. And then there's like classic art. I guess that's serious, but most people don't take it so seriously, people to do art. But I took this one painting class, and the way that he was getting us to look and think, this is the most deepest, profound thing. And what comes out of it could affect a person on that very deep level. And I always felt really I guess driven, inspired to do something meaningful, try to help the world. And I thought, this is actually a very real way to reach people. Someone could see a painting, and actually it could open their mind, it could open their heart, it could open gateways for them in their life and relationships. I realized just by doing wow, this is a real thing, even though the outside world still, nobody said that to me. Right. But from my own experience, I felt that. And since then, I've been painting. I love, the painting is the first love. Right. Opened up the whole realm of art. And being a curious person, I tried everything I could find
That's
there.
amazing that you had such a positive experience in, was it art school or
No,
was just, okay, so it was
Ivy
just,
League school.
it was an Ivy League school
Yeah.
with a painting class.
Yeah, they have an art department.
Right.
And I just thought, it seemed, kind of random. I'll just take an art class to see what happens because of the good experience in that one class in high school.
Because it's not uncommon for people to say that they got a, I don't know, MFA, or they went through art school and they had to unlearn
For sure.
what they learned.
No, I'm lucky I didn't go to art school, in my opinion.
Right.
I went, I dafka, it was very interesting. That professor was really, really, a great artist and a great teacher, a good person. Like I really just really wanted to get his feedback. And he happened to be like going, finishing his tenure, whatever it is, the same year that I met him. So I only had one semester with him. And I had a couple more years of college to go. So I went to meet him at the end of the year, and I asked him, "What do you have to say to me?" Like I had really, there was a lot of feedback I was getting from what I was doing, and I was enjoying it. And meanwhile, I see the people or most of the people who I was surrounded with in the art department, they're talking about technique. They're still being very competitive. A lot of I'm the best at this and you don't know how to do that type of vibes, which I was not interested in, but that's what I heard around me a lot. I was myself just kind of whatever was coming out of me, like kind of like a heart blast coming out, and that wasn't like the approach that anyone else seemed to be taking.
But it was his approach.
The students were very like, it was an Ivy League school, so like very competitive.
But this
vibration.
Approach was your own approach, or was this something that your teacher?
No, it was mine. That was just the way that I related to what we were given and paint and having a canvas that was just what happened. Like that's what came out of me.
Right.
And he saw that, and other students sing and say, well, where's your technique? Look at my technique. I literally had people come see my studio. I know technique.
Right.
And I asked him, what do you have to say to me? I'm clearly not interested in technique.
Right.
And everyone seems to think that's like the end all be all of art. Right. What do you think? And he kind of laughed. He said, maybe in 20 years, don't worry about it. Just paint.
Maybe in 20 years,
think about
technique.
Yeah. For now, forget about it. Just paint. Because he saw where I was coming from, and he like gave me that kind of like free ticket to just paint, and I really trusted him because he was a very deep person. He wasn't stom. So I went with that.
What you said he gave you a free ticket. It's almost he gave you permission.
Well,
why did you need his permission?
I had just started painting really, and I was in that was the environment that I was kind of like born into painting in, and what everyone seemed to be focused on and talking about, I couldn't relate to it, so I wanted to clarify because he was like the teacher, He was
but what were you at that point? What were you trying to achieve through painting?
Just real simple, pure expression. I was just the opportunity to just explore with color, and reflect on and this experience of learning to see, what I think one of the amazing thing that happens when a person starts to do art is that they start to really see, they start to really look, and people don't necessarily do that unless you're really trying to get down to the details or really see what the color is or see the composition, how things are. And that in itself is life-changing, to actually learn to see. Right. And to see what you're actually seeing. So then when you go out in the world, you see a person, you see a color, you can really notice it, you can really take it in. It's just, to me, it was a completely different world after that. Suddenly like clued in, you can really like see, and it made me think, I'm sure there's much more that I'm still not seeing. Right. And so the curiosity and I'm still like that. I'm like, what am I not seeing? Like, I'm curious, what should I see? So it really just opened to me that and the expression of the heart. And I think that a lot of, the first phase of people doing art, which often is the only phase that people do, there's a lot of like self-criticism and resistance, which I definitely experienced. I usually tell the story that, basically like around the first 10 years of me painting, I never really liked anything that came out of me. but there was this drive to paint anyway, like the curiosity.
That's so beautiful
Yeah.
The second part is so beautiful that you didn't stop.
It's a miracle. I mean, nobody, and I didn't get a lot of feedback from the outside, like one way or the other.
Were you sharing it, or is it?
To some extent, like lightly.
Right.
No big push outward. More like just it was like the exploration of it itself. I'm a very experiential artist, like the doing and the being in it. Like people ask me in my studio now. I mean, I have a studio now for over 20 years in Tzfat, and what's your favorite thing to do? What do you like? And I tell you, it could be anything. It literally could be the thing I make today or not, but it's not. It's a journey.
Is it the act of exploration?
Yeah, exploring and being and presence. Because I think that that same thing of learning to look, learning to see, it brings a person into presence. And I think that's part of what made me really love art, is that you have to focus. You have to be with your material in the time that you're working with it.
Right.
And actually really look at it, and the actual, physical, moving things around that happens, you're forced to focus and be. And life didn't seem to be like allowing that very much in other realms, for me at least. And I loved that. I thought, and I still do, I think it's so healthy and so important. Like a person every day should have some real reflective presence time. And that's what made me love painting. And from there, being a very curious person, I thought, well, I probably will love other things too. So I tried all kinds of materials while I was still in school. So there's the opportunity, you have the art department. So there was wood. I love wood. I did a bunch of wood sculpture and burning designs into wood type of things while I was there, which was great and fun. But having all the equipment for wood, I never went in that direction.
Right.
A little bit of metalwork, that was not my direction. And then some photography. Tried different things, but from the beginning, painting, it got my heart, and still it was the first love. And then somebody told me, you would love glass blowing, and I was like, what is glass blowing? So that we have to remember, this is back in historic ancient times when there was no way to just look things up.
Right.
So how do we learn things?
So where was that in your journey? Was that still in school?
I was still in school. I was in school, and I was starting to meet, and be friends with all kinds of art-related people, artists, people who like art, whatever. And so somewhere in there, friends and friends of friends, someone said, they had some friends who were glassblowers. I said, what is it? And they didn't know how to tell me what it is. They said, there's glass and fire, I don't know. But they had a little brochure from a gallery in Washington.
There is a place just out of Princeton that does glass.
I've heard about it, yeah, but I didn't find about it then.
Okay.
No, but it was, the way things go, we get on these journeys. So they had these friends. My friends had some friends in Washington State, near Seattle, but not near Seattle, like hours into the nature. They were glassblowers. They had some kind of setup there. So I actually called them, and I went there to meet them. And I was on my way to Israel. The whole story with me of art and Israel go exactly together. Hashem is very interesting the way the stories go.
Where was your Judaism at that time?
I grew
during school.
I grew up with hardly any content, reform education, if you can call it education, meaning lox and bagels here and there,
right.
and no interest. Like the Sunday school I was offered, I was like, no thanks, not interested. And then we had a trip to Israel, 17-year-olds coming to Israel out of Denver. And I thought, wow, travel far. I'll do that. That sounds like fun, adventure. So I went on that trip and got exposed to just, again, seeing Israel, just I remember just looking out the window, seeing the colors, this ride that we both just took now, through the Jordan Valley, these beautiful scenes in this tiny place that seems to have so much in it. I was very curious seeing it. And I told my 17-year-old self on that bus, come back here. There's something going on here. And thank God I listened to myself and I came back. And ever since then, every time I came back, it's just become more and more and more good reasons to be here and to come back. And that was literally, 17, right before I took that art class and right before I went to college. So Israel and art opened at the same time for me. And so the whole story, I feel like anybody's art, any artist or someone who makes, a a body of work of art. It's telling their story, whether they like it or not. There's no way to hide from it.
It's a reflection of them.
Yeah. And so mine is completely with me coming and reconnecting to Israel, to my Judaism, and to learning about it, which basically started at nothing, like Ephes. I come to Israel. I didn't know, if someone showed me an aleph, I wouldn't know what it was, a bit, nothing.
Wow.
Kashrut, shot, nothing, like nothing.
Right. Clean slate.
Mamash, nothing. And like, like an Ivy League brain type person going to like kindergarten or below.
Right.
Which I actually really loved. I thought it was so, I love the experience of like not knowing and learning something new. And especially, I mean, Hebrew is so beautiful, the letters, the shapes. I started just, very simple, the shapes of the letters, starting to read and starting to learn. And meanwhile, there's like the concepts coming in, which I could understand because I was already a young adult, but not being able to look or check or learn anything on my own at all. Right. And similarly, exploring artistic materials as like a newbie, like, what is this and how, and new material, this inks and papers and just everything's new and interesting all together.
Right.
And then life, started to, Hashem, within a couple of years I got married, started to have kids, and I was painting. I kind of realized I'd never thought that I would, be a professional artist.
Where were you living at the time?
So when I first came back, so when I graduated college, I made this plan to come to Israel to see what would happen, and I've been here since then.
Oh wow!
And I made Aliyah in 1999, and so the trip to Israel was, the beginning of it was going to meet those glass blowers. Right. So it was like all integrated, where I got this little like taste of glass blowing with these friends of friends in this like cabin in far out Washington. It's called Home Washington, like middle of nowhere. And I got to melt a little glass. They showed me how to turn on the fire, smush glass together a little bit. I was like, wow, this is fun. This is hard. This is not easy. Like,
it's a very different learning curve.
It's so hard.
It's not painting.
With painting, you can like throw paint on a canvas. You can pour. It's a painting. Right. It's amazing. Right. Painting is freedom. Like, I love that about painting very much. And glass blowing is kind of the opposite. Like, it's a craft. You have to. I don't know if craft is the best word for it, but you have to learn the rules. It's very scientific type of art. If you don't get the techniques right, you're not going to get anywhere. And you have to really sit and practice and get them.
There's a real learning curve.
Mamash. And it's not easy. And it's not easy even once you know. Like I don't know what level, intermediate, whatever level I am now. It doesn't mean that it's easy.
Right.
It's easier, but it's mamash not an easy thing. And but that, getting the little taste of it happened right. I graduated college. My senior thesis was like painting, and I did some like wood burning stuff. And then I got this little taste of glass blowing, and 2 days later I got on a plane to Israel. Wow. Because I had already planned this trip. Right. And I got on the plane thinking, well, that was amazing, glass blowing, wonderful. I forget to try that again. Right. I remember thinking to myself as I'm getting on the plane. And I came to Israel, and then this life thing happened where we lived in the center at first, Jerusalem, lived in Bat Ayin, lived on a moshav near Beit Shemesh called Aderet. Got married, started having kids, and after around 8 years or something of, family life, and I thought, what about glass blowing? Because I made myself in getting into the family part of life, and how does that work with art and being a young mother, and your hands are always full and tired, and when, how would you ever do it? I found that if there's a table that's set aside with my, I have my paint there, and I have things set up there that I can just go and sit down and start painting, not have to clear and set up a space, but have a space. It's like a very good thing to know, that there's a possibility that at least some things will come through, which is true. Right. So that's what I did for those years. And then it dawned on me, oh, what about glass blowing? That was so cool. Maybe I should try it again, because I love fire. It's not for everyone, but people who love it. And that friend who said you would love it, they were right. So I remembered, I thought, wow, I should check that out. So I already had 3 kids under the age of 5. like payas, and we found this in those days. Now there's glass blowing, the scene is what it is now. It's gone through a lot of different phases, but in those days, it was very super limited because it's such a hard thing to learn and it's not happening everywhere. So there was once a year a conference in Canada and once a year a conference in the US.
And this is for glass
For
blowers.
glass blowing, that was what was happening
Everyone
in
in
North
the world.
America.
Right.
I mean, North America,
Right,
I'm
North
not
America.
sure.
Right.
In Italy, there's its own story there, which is another later chapter of my story, of that part. But in this, just to start really learning, how am I going to learn? There's not like classes here, there, and everywhere. So there was this conference, and they would have classes around the conference. So I went and took my first like real class. It was a 2-week class in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, the middle of nowhere, mamash, like far, far, far into nowhere. And I had 3 kids under the age of 5. My husband would watch the kids while I was in class in the morning, and then I'd be with the kids. So I was with like...
So you all went
we
from
all
Israel
went. Yeah, because they were little kids.
That's commitment.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, you really wanted to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it was also kind of like we visited family. It was like a side trip, but to see,
Right.
to check it out.
Right.
And it happened to be that class, it was very convincing that it's very worthwhile to check out because it was an amazing class. Right. The teacher himself is like, wrote one of the modern day manuals of techniques in the field. Right. And his teacher's assistant happened to be this like rising star, young guy, amazing, talented, but young, just wanting to blow glass and travel and whatever. So I invited him to Israel, the teacher's assistant, to come, because I saw this 2-week class. There's no way I'm going to come out of here blowing. I'm like my mom brain and a few hours a day for 2 weeks. And no way, it's hard. Right. And so I invited him to come to Israel, and he agreed to come. So he came, and this was just when we were moving to Tzfat. It was around 2005, and this was when like glass blowing was like taking off, like blasting off. It got like huge, and then it got saturated. But this was like a moment. So he came, and I had just moved into this place in Tzfat, and he helped me set up my studio. And he taught my kids went to Gone in the morning, and he would teach me glass blowing for like 2 weeks, twice or something like that. That was the amount of time that I had with him. And I asked him, please show me the techniques and what I need to work on so that I could continue on my own. That was my goal. Right. And he showed me a lot more than that, but I continued since then, basically.
Well, at this point in your life, was it just a creative question? Was it also a financial possibility for you, that was it just your interest in it was just purely as a form of expression, or you saw that this was because you're in a different place. You're married, you got 3 kids, you do have responsibilities. You got financial responsibilities.
Right. So I didn't yet think of it that way, but my husband was thinking of it that way. And I never thought to open a gallery really on my own. It didn't really come to me on my own. By nature, I'm like the introvert type, not so outgoing. I could like contemplate and paint and create things on my own for who knows how long and not mind. And so the thought of like putting it out there and sharing with people never crossed my mind, because it's like a tikkun. It's like something that wouldn't come naturally to me.
Right. I'm still struck that if it's not a financial, it's a horrible thing for an artist to say, but I'm just imagining that at this point in your life, like to paint a little bit, when you have a chance to paint is great. To do a little bit of me time, but to pick up the whole family as part of a trip, but to go all the way to Canada, to set up a studio, for him to invite him over, to do all this, and its only purpose is just to fill your soul. Is incredible.
Yeah, there's benefits to being like very idealistic and like broad-minded type of person. Sometimes it's like very helpful in certain situations, and in other situations it's less. Right. So it happens that Hashem makes people different ways. For whatever reason, Hashem made me like very super idealistic, and the situation that I was in was just juggling so many things, having a bunch of little kids, and living in Israel, learning the language as I go slowly, and and this aspect of being like having this artistic side of me that seemed important to me, but not knowing what, for what, why, just knowing it's important. That's kind of where I was at this moment.
And yet you were painting, and painting wasn't enough, apparently.
But, yeah, well, there's a curiosity of in materials, which I still have. That I, focused all these years and really developed both the painting and the glass blowing, is so it makes like a certain type of reality that's like what I do.
Right.
And honestly, I think it would be better for me to not be so convinced that's what I do and be open to what I will do from now on, which will also be that I wouldn't not do it, but not just, you know what I mean, like kind of closing in on myself, okay, defining this is what I do. And I think that the journey with art, I think everyone on some level, if you're going to give yourself time to do art, there has to be a little bit, I mean, I had a big dose of this, but you have to be a little bit of like really giving yourself space to just do it, not for a reason and not and if it is for a very specific goal or whatever, so, or being paid for it specifically, someone asks for something very specific and you're trying to fulfill what their vision is, it's a different category. It's just a completely different realm. And I also I've done that countless times at this point, things for other people, which I also enjoy. And I just know it's a different realm of creativity. And I was just actually sharing this with a friend yesterday, how important it is, and with an artist friend, how important it is to, for me at least, and I think it's true for everyone, to always remember like where's my ratzon, beyond like, okay, I have to pay off my mortgage and I'm taking care of the kids and whatever, but if I didn't think about anything other than like I have this material in front of me, where's my ratzon? What do I want? What do I want to do?
What's your desires? And
actually create from a place of wanting to do it, as opposed to like for a goal.
Right.
And it's like pure and simple, and I really feel like coming from that place has allowed me to do art in this like intensive long game way that I have, because I always come back to that when I go in for a day to make orders for people, create glass pieces that people want me to make for them, which Baruch Hashem, thank you to all the people asking me to do it, but I pretty much since I started, there's things that I have to do for people. And before I start on orders for people, I usually try to just make something that I feel like making first.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's kept me, fresh, happy, alive in it, where it's because if it was just a job,
right.
I don't know if I could do it.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, no.
And it's a job. Like, I mean, this has been my job for decades at this point. Like, I'm, Baruch Hashem, it's like a, miracle in nature that Hashem made me able to do such a thing.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Well, and then my question on that is, that piece that you make for yourself, does that end up going on the shelf? Does that
usually.
That becomes available for sale as well?
Almost everything I end up offering at this point, because here and there something comes through that I put in the house because it just kind of strikes me, it's nice or whatever. And I've noticed, as the years go by and it's like, time keeps going by, it's like, I should probably save a few things, not sell everything. We should probably want a few of my things, around. But yeah, that idealistic side of me is, so it's a very important point actually. When I came to Israel and I started to learn about our tradition and get the story, which was very surface level at first. I mean, there was no in depth and learning. It was just like what I was hearing at first. What came to me was our story is about the land and the people of Israel. And when up until now, all of my paintings, at that point I had only been doing painting, was about me. Like that's, an artist, when a person first starts to express themselves, they're expressing themselves. And some people don't get past that. And Hashem brought me to Israel when I was in this state of very like expressing myself, and I realized, wow, this is good. It's important. It's therapeutic. It's affecting people. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very me. And I got this like understanding from a little bit learning about our tradition. This is not about me. It's about all of us, and it's about this place, Eretz Yisrael. And that was very super early on when I came on the scene. I still didn't know how to read and write Hebrew and find up sources myself, but it was very clear that that's the truth. And ever since then, I said, okay, I made a decision. So from now on, my art is about, I'm going to open my mind. It's about the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and whatever comes with that. And I think that also allowed for what has happened to happen, because it's true. It's not a limited, personal story at all.
Right.
At all. Right. Even though it is through me, and so it's like my story in that way. It's a very broad vision where what's the subject matter, the goal, the interest, and I think that's it's very freeing. And I think that it provided a lot of space for all of the unbelievable things that have been happening because of that, and because it's a big vessel, and and then I only know my perspective, but like here I are, we moved to Tzfat, and I hadn't thought to open a gallery before. I thought, well, we're in Tzfat, it's a city of artists, and it's beautiful, and there's galleries, maybe I should try. So we got this place, and it's the only gallery I've ever had. It's where you met me.
So it's still, wow.
Same place.
That's it. Moved in and
one
same place.
And I've never had another gallery.
And you live upstairs?
Live upstairs.
Wow.
And a couple of my kids were born in that house, in the gallery, and brought up my kids. Baruch Hashem, now my kids are big and out of the house.
Right.
So I got through all these life phases with the very interestingly, never would have imagined, but like the constant through all of these phases has been art, and it's been an expression of art in relation to life and meaning since I came to Israel. It was all at the same time. And because I landed in Tzfat, so I was right when I started glassblowing. I took that course. We moved to Tzfat in 2005 and took the course in 2005. I thought, wow, glassblowing, after I took that 2-week course in Canada, I thought, this has so much potential. It's definitely worth exploring more. And I thought, well, I can't just blow glass. If I was in Colorado, I could just blow glass. But I'm in Tzfat. I have to see, like, what does the Arya Kadosh say about glass? Like, you can't just, I felt like it doesn't make any sense. That's, like, strange. So I didn't know how to look up what the Arya Kodesh says about glass.
Right.
So I started asking around, because, it's people, they learn and they know. And I guess it was the first time people had heard, where is glass blowing in the Torah, because nobody knew what to say to me.
Wow. Okay.
And this was before ChatGPT and
Sure.
Chabad.org and being able to look things up so easily.
Sure.
It took a while. I was showing people glass blowing it was probably already years before some yeshiva bachrim came to see glass blowing. They came to my studio. And you want some water?
Yeah, I help myself to some water.
Yeah. And I asked them, I told them, if you're learning Torah and you don't mind, find for me sources on glass blowing. I'm interested. I'd love to know. So a couple of these boys said, we're going to look for you. So they went, I guess the concordance, it was really back in the day. And they sent me an email with a list of sources where glass comes up. I couldn't read the sources. It's all like Hebrew and Aramaic anyway, so I had to have them read it for me too and explain. But everything that it said was just mind-blowingly exactly describing glass blowing. It was literally mind-blowing to me what was happening. So I started to think about and contemplate the sources about glass.
The sources were where? Was
Gemara, Kabbalah, Midrash, like sources.
But it wasn't, and you said it was describing glass blowing, but it's not describing the technicals of it.
No, but it was reflected. Like it's like from Hidbonenut. Like if you, like an example would be, there's a I think it's there's a Navi, Yirmiyahu, that says that everybody knows we are like the material in the hands of the craftsman. It comes up in Yom Kippur. right? There's all these different examples. There's a song called Nidre. Everyone gets really serious. So we're the material. We're created. So how are we in relation to the Creator? These different types of materials can teach us about what we are like. And one of them is glass on Yom Kippur. And then there's another source where it comes up, the same idea, it says, we are like the material in the hands of the craftsman. Which material? Glass. And how does it describe it? Just like we know glass to be. What does everybody know about glass? It's fragile, right? When people come to my gallery, oh, do you ship? Do you pack? I love it, but how can I take it home? So yes, I do pack and ship well, and pack well and ship and everything. But everyone breaks glass. And then when you see glass blowing, so we didn't get the chance to do it today, but you heat up glass in the fire, it becomes like lava. It becomes molten. You can stick it together, you can pull it apart, you can blow it into different shapes. You can't break it, you can change it. So the very same material is the most breakable and unbreakable and a fire in between. And then the source that these boys brought, it says not only the Navi, but then the Zohar Kodesh on the Navi, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, that's like us. We're like the material in the hands of the craftsman. We also have these attributes. We're very fragile and unbreakable with a fire in between. And so this is the example I'm sharing with you, because what do I do all the time with glass? I heat up a piece and I want to put a design on it. I want to add dots, for example. So I put a pile of broken pieces of glass on the table. I get very hot glass. I roll it in the broken pieces. They stick on. And then I put it back in the fire and they melt in. They become dots, a new layer of glass. So in the meantime, what happened? Broken glass became not broken glass with a fire. So that's what I mean. It was like exactly what it's saying is what I'm doing. But the meaning there, wow, just mind-blowing, because you start to think about it. I mean, now I'm thinking about this for 20 years already and sharing it with however many thousands of people as they see it, to see a material go from being the most breakable to smooth, not broken at all, glowing, and...
But not just the most breakable, but also just shards and remnants. That something that's without that process is essentially garbage.
Right. You would think it's useless.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And it becomes the design. It becomes the beauty. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, that's like us. We have these attributes of being both very fragile and unbreakable with a fire in between. So our fire is obviously a symbolic fire. The fire of coming to Eretz Yisrael, the Torah, the soul, the mitzvah. I think all of the things we are involved in all the time is our fire. So that was one example, and I actually really want to share with you something recently came up, and it's not a chiddush, but it was said so strongly. It's like really important, I feel like, to share it all the time now when I share this source. I had a group come a few weeks ago of injured soldiers, and not necessarily from this war, but a group, and they were doing a tour, and I share with them I share this idea that I just share with you. And they're listening. So one of them said that it was a tough crowd. They're sweet as can be and very, very intense. And they said to me, one of them said to me, Sheva Chaya, what you're saying, I see what you're saying, okay, unbreakable when it's hot, but one person could break, but all of us together can't break. And it really hit me what they were saying, not only because obviously they understand, in a deep way, this experience, but the glass also tells the same story, because what I was describing before, this pile of broken pieces is separate, like that's us. So it's like us separate is the most fragile, broken thing could be. You bring in the flame and the fire, it's glowing, it's flowing, it sticks together, you put it back in the fire, it becomes one piece. That's us. That's our superpower, the Jewish people, the unbreakable, unbelievable, the 0.0% of the world, tiny people that's unbreakable. Why? The fire that makes us glow and become one. It's such a beautiful thing.
And connects us with each other.
And connects us with each other 100%, and makes a vessel, and is all the potential in the world for anything. It's like, wow. And it's like, wow, after 20 years of like Ki'ilu, I'm saying the same thing, I'm literally like amazed. It doesn't stop. So that's one example. These boys brought their list. And since then, I thought, okay, this is it's just beautiful content to share with people. I can show people glassblowing, and I can share these sources, and it's not only meaningful, but it's showing the bridge between Torah and art, omanut, emunah. The connection between these things is very, very deep, and yet I don't know if culture is the right word, but the way that it's developed, the way that our culture has developed over time, went through, galut, like being in situations where we had to protect ourselves and block ourselves off from other things, which basically came around with this notion that art is them and we don't do that. I'm being extreme, but
sure.
It is extreme what happened, to the point of, I feel like now in our time, you're an example. People coming in and saying, wait a minute, art is holy and beautiful and good. This is like a chiddush. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, we're in the parshiot of the Mishkan, the Chachmat Lev. Everyone was building and doing all these beautiful crafts. It's so in us, and yet somewhere in between, it was like cut off with it. Well, that's not us. The goyim do that.
Right.
And yet, what I had this amazing zchut to do in Tzfat all these years is just tell people over and over again, this is essential. It's so deep and basic and in us. I'm not pulling this out of anywhere far at all. This is
us.
So basic, and so important for us to reclaim it and see where it takes us. It's a huge part of where we need to go, as far as I'm concerned. So. Yeah, it's kind of became like a profession, but kind of also like a shlichut, like a mission.
No, very much so.
Yeah.
But one thing that keeps coming back to me in my head is balancing that with the commercial side, or the product, your end product goal. I find at the moment I've realized that I'm extremely product oriented in my creative what I'm making at the moment. Becomes this big, I'm doing public art menorahs, sculpture, welding and a lot of engineering, and it's really goal focused, and it's not about the process is the product. It's just process seems to be just means to the end rather than getting lost in the process, like the way you describe painting. And just today, walking through Tzfat, and there's a gallery like yours, and people can come in and have a tour and really connect with the art, the meaning, the depth. And then you have these commercial galleries that are just selling pretty pictures. And just how do you find that balance between you and the rest of, or not the rest of, but those other elements in the old city of Tzfat, or in the other part of Jewish art? And how do you balance that within yourself?
Yeah, well, I always found, like I was saying before, I have this. I'm really coming from a very, very like tamim, simple place. Of expression of the heart that I just felt like it's something that I had to do, and not connected at all to anything commercial or any profession from the beginning. And it feels, at least from my perspective, this like organic unfolding that with that curiosity, developed things like actual products and skills that became a profession. And I didn't think of it. I mean, it was like I went with it.
Right.
I did go deep into it, and I accepted slowly. It was a process, because I never thought of doing such a thing at all, because it was so personal and is so like kind of like soul searching, soul expressive experience for me. To me, like, what does that have to do with money? It has nothing to do with money.
Right.
And yet, Hashem Gadol, Hashem makes all kinds of connections in this world that we wouldn't necessarily think of, and I realized it strikes me actually how it came to be what I do, because I just started doing it, like what I actually get paid for. Like I do these demonstrations, and the piece that I make, sometimes people buy it. Whatever I make is available, but the like action, what's actually happening with me, that's like the regular work is people coming to see glass blowing, and then sometimes it works out they like to get the piece that I made, especially if it's like a workshop with them, then they get the piece. And I grew into that, but all coming from this very idealistic place of like, it's just something that I have to do, which is, I think, quite unique, honestly, and to the more of the aspects of your question. So I have a little bit of like I'm less drawn to commercial art. I feel like, especially being in a place like Tzfat, where you see sometimes there's artists around, and then there's business people around, and kind of like not much in between. And the business people, you can see how artists are, they're journeying. They're it's so meaningful to them what they're creating because it's them, and then the businessmen are all about money,
seeing
this
opportunities.
Like, and this huge like gap in between, and so I kind of there's a part of me that's like threw the anchor down really, really strong to really be the way that I am, because there's like such a commercial vibe and energy in the world. And if you go into the galleries, the galleries in Tzfat, there's like, look out, like they're gonna get you to buy things. And I've never tried to convince anyone to buy anything. I mean, I offer it, but I offer it and like you decide. I'm not a shark pulling it. No. Right. And thank God, Hashem Gadol, Hashem makes it work, because it's a shlichut, I think, is why. But what do I know? But I do think that because there's such a thing as Judaica, like what you're talking about, a public menorah. This is a Kiddush Hashem. It needs to be produced. It's also art, and it also needs to be like on a commercial level, because it's about reaching as many people as possible, which is great. There's realms, and then there's people who just want to make money and knock off whatever, and they could care less about the art. So, which seems to, at least what it feels like from the outside, not really being in that world, is that a lot of the commercial realm that's the vibe, and so there's that, and then there's like we're talking about this other aspect where there's the creative soul. There's the human being who, all of us, you, me, we have spent time doing art, so we've developed this side of ourselves. But every single human being, definitely every single Jew with their, like, the chiddush that they're meant to bring to the world is unique to them. Like we have a fingerprint that nobody ever had before and no one will ever have again. We have an expression. We came to the world to say something. And how are we supposed to say it without trying to figure out how to express ourselves in different ways with different materials, whether it's words or song or wood or metal, whatever it might be? It's essential. Yeah. So there's like these two like vastly different realms that somehow come together with art. And I leaned very strongly to the side of, meaning, true expression also of, reflection of how awesome Hashem is and how beautiful the world is, and that the hitorut aspect, like the awakening that art can bring, that someone could be like it's like a breath of fresh air to see something. Wow, it's like good vibes. What an amazing thing to be able to, experience and maybe even like provide for people. So it's a very broad subject. It's a very like wild thing, and I'm very thankful that Hashem has made me. I have a very super practical side to me. Being a mother of young kids, obviously, I'm trying to take care of the kids. I'm trying to pay off the mortgage. I'm trying to do all the things that I'm trying to do, and the ideas that came to me of how to make it work in this way, they were just like pitomi, because they just suddenly I was like, oh, I can do it like this, and I just started doing it, and I've been doing it ever since. Like, I mean, like, thank you Hashem. It's not. It's like not. It's not like. It's not something I deserved, or it just like, it was a gift.
There's no business plan.
No business plan. There's been little phases along the way where like I, had like a business coach, and just to get me like in the mindset of like, this is a thing to do. But overall, with all the time that I've been doing this and all the energy I've been doing this, very, very minimal, very, very minimal. And whatever, I have like a very, logical mind.
Right.
So as like, you know, free flowing type of art as I like to make, that's might be part of why that I make art like that, to kind of like balance my like a very like logical, like, you know, Ivy League brain.
Right.
And so that part like does what it's doing, and it Baruch Hashem, you know.
So are you ready to learn technique?
So I
After 20 years of doing this.
I guess a little, yeah. It happens, you know. It happens even along the way. I think that I did see my friends who went to art school. I really felt bad for my friends who went to art school, because it is very like, it can be very, and like crushing, and like all of the critiques and whatever, and and you see people like with their heads hanging low, and they're so like bummed, but they're creating beautiful stuff, and then they get all like crunched down. Very tough scene, very hard.
Right.
I feel for them. It's really, really hard, and I could not have done that. I know that I would not have done art if that was the
art that you were.
Yeah, there's no way I could have.
It's interesting. A parallel. I'm just thinking now of a story of Reuven Dunin. That's his name. Reuven Dunin was a Zionist in '48, and he was very involved in creating the country and doing and being, and at some point he found, he grew up in a Jewish home, but at some point he found yeshiva and he found Chabad, and he became a Baal Tshuva, and he asked his rabbi, could he go visit the Rebbe, and he went to the Rebbe, and there's a whole story of his tshuva. He was told he needed to do tshuva. He understood enough, and he came to the Rebbe. It's a very long story, a very emotional point, but he asked the Rebbe about tshuva. Like, I have to do tshuva. I have to rectify all the things that I've done wrong. And the Rebbe said, first do everything right, and then later we'll worry about tshuva. So this idea of later, in 20 years you can start dealing with technique, because 20 years, and it's the push and pull of sumei ra v'asei tov, do good and stay away from evil. And I'm not at all suggesting that Rebbe doesn't believe in tshuva, and at all, but it was about just throw yourself in, get involved, get your hands dirty, get wet, and we'll deal with it. We'll iron out the details of the past later.
It's interesting.
And to close that story, many years later, he was at a Farbrengen where the Rebbe talked about the idea of tshuva, and he felt that was the Rebbe giving him the kapara, the full circle that he.
Nice. Yeah. The whole thing of technique and bringing it in later. I still mostly with painting. That's just not where I'm coming from.
Right.
And I don't think it needs. And countless artists, friends, people have commented on the way that I paint. And not in the nicest way, where what real painters do and whatever.
Right.
And I just take it lightly. I don't necessarily agree with them. I don't think that technique is the be all end all of creativity. And I happen to have developed this whole realm of glassblowing, like we said already. Without technique, without knowing the rules of the game and getting them right, you can't really do anything. So I have that as a big aspect of what I do for many, many years. And still, I consider those techniques as kind of like the structure, and from within that structure, I hope that there's like a song, there's like a soul, there's like that's what's coming through, and it should be beautiful and it works. So it's like body soul type thing to me a little bit. I think like the technique can hold more of like whatever the expression itself is really needing to come through. And so with painting, I just kind of less feel like that's needed of me for whatever reason. And with the glass blowing, probably the better I get at things, the better, because like it's endless what you can do with glass. And so that exploration could just keep, God willing, see how far we go.
Amazing. Tzfat. what's the community like? I mean, I come through for a few hours and disappear again. I don't know what, is there an artist colony? Is there an artist community? What's it like? I mean, just for the other creatives who may want to, give up their day job and move to Tzfat and
come to Tzfat. Tzfat is amazing. Tzfat is a very, very, very inspiring place. I've lived there so long. I've seen phases of chevre, community, artists, less, more. Honestly, the past few years since Corona and the war, Tzfat has had like a real like tzimtzum, down, down, down. A lot of people have shifted, changed, moved. And that said, there's still artists around. There's tons of musicians in Tzfat, and it's an amazing environment to make art because there's inspiration in the air. That's one thing. And there's beautiful views, and there is quiet, even when there are people. There's something about it. It's this like, kind of mountaintop vibe and this big expansive view, which I think for artists, just to have, that you can just kind of like be and like take it in and see expansiveness, and then in your mind you can come up with the ideas or come up with the plan or whatever it might be. It's very, very conducive to creativity. And that said, creative people are often on journeys,
right,
and they're coming through, and they come for however long, and they keep going. And there's a few of us, at this point I say us because I've been there for so long. I'm like one of those people who came and I like landed there, and Baruch Hashem, I come to Yerushalayim often, and I'm not only there, but I landed there as like like my home, and I love the creative side of people in Tzfat, and because it became so quiet in the past 5+ years, there's so much potential for like what's going to happen next, because I'm sure that creative people are going to come, that more artists are going to come, and more musicians will come, because Tzfat is Tzfat no matter what the situation is on the outside.
right.
It is what it is, and it's not only the city of the Arya Kadosh. It's the city of tzaddikim. It's like a portal to inspiration, endless inspiration. That's the inspiration, that's going towards where we need to go to. It's the panimiyut of the Torah. It's the light of the Torah. It's the way to redemption, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said.
Right.
With this book that I'm writing, the Book of Illumination, the Zohar Kodesh, the Jewish people will go into the redemption with rachamim, with light. And so, some artists may be less drawn to that, but plenty of artists will hear that or feel that and be drawn to Tzfat, because it's not only so true, it's so important to go into that environment and make art and express and share with the world that in these different forms and pictures and songs and ways. So it's in a very flux moment.
But you see growth coming. It's
for sure going to come, and already there's newness, but it feels like very early. It feels like very newness, and I'm curious what will happen. And it's actually, a person can be nostalgic of phases, and there's been times when there's been like big waves and a lot of people and a lot of gatherings and a lot of art and action and more like festival vibes a bit, and it's less like that now. And so we could think, wow, that was amazing when that was happening, and it's amazing, like I was saying, I feel like the potential now is amazing. And being in that, I mean, it's every day that I've lived in Tzfat, it's like, what is this place? Like, what a zchut to live here. I can't even, like you saw my space, I come in there every day that I come into the gallery. What is this place? It's an unbelievable place. Yeah. So I don't take it for granted, because like I never could have thought of this. It's beyond. And I think there's plenty of other people who can appreciate it like that, and then whatever it is that needs to come through them, because like, I mean, there's just this like, wow, the basic, like, raw materials. You get raw materials to make something. So the raw materials for creativity, Tzfat is just like you're just in it. It's like an ocean of light, and it doesn't necessarily look like that, but it's mamash there. It's very. I only realize more and more how special Tzfat is. For 20 years, I literally just, it's opening and realizing more and more, like, wow. And also the people who are drawn to there. Just mitikut, like the sweetness of souls, like very, very special people. And there's a hiddenness to it. So with a little, like, patience and looking, you can uncover amazingness. Like, it's just, it keeps happening. It's amazing, even with the quiet phase that we're in. And I'm very excited to see who's going to come and how, and I'm also, personally for myself, I'm coming to a phase now as my kids have grown now and I have more time to work and teach, to take students and to, maybe even really make like a school or something. Because I at this point, we're sitting now in the place where we teach Torah and art. There's a women's program called Sheva here, where we teach, I teach Torah and art, which is with painting as opposed to glass blowing. And we have a class where they do singing and a class with dance and movement where we learn and we integrate the learning with different materials. And so the potential for that, and the importance of that is huge. And I feel like Tzfat really should have something like, some kind of very, very interesting, I don't know, incubator for people who want to find their expression and in a real and deep way. To not only, like we were saying before, not only have really good skills to be a great painter, but to know where your inspiration is coming from, to even, like, choose your own adventure, choose your inspiration, like learn the parsha, learn the pnimiyut of the parsha, learn the Zohar on the parsha, and see what sparks image-wise, and go in that direction, because this is bridges for who knows who to find their way.
Amazing.
It's really important stuff. So who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. So I got to spend more than a day in Tzfat.
Yeah. Next time, come longer. We can do a workshop or something.
Yes, please. Yes, please. And you're right. I do need to slow down. I do need to spend more time in Tzfat. Spend more time. Slow down. In general, I need to slow down, but.
It's healthy. It's healthy to slow down. It's a skill. It's like a built skill, and I do think all these years in Tzfat has kind of settled in me. Not only, I like it and I'm drawn to it, but it's healthy. It's a good to be able to contemplate and slow down and not run at the pace of the world, because who's setting that pace? It's not necessarily related to me. Right. And each person, and whatever, there's moments I get going. I also run sometimes, but it's just knowing because I think some of the greatest creativity comes from there. Right. Because then we can hear a little deeper, like what's wanting to come out.
At the same time, I have so many ideas, and I got to get them done.
That's great.
And it's a pull and push. It's a pull and push.
It's a big part of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. We close with two scripted questions. So question number one are, who are three Jewish creative artists that you think the audience should know about? And perhaps three Tzfat artists, if we want to narrow it like that. You don't have to, but three artists that you think the audience should know. Okay, so
one of them is Solomon Souza. He's a very well-known artist already, but I have to say he's a favorite for me. We're really good friends, and he actually grew up in Tzfat. Really? Unknown fun fact.
Okay, that says a lot.
Yeah. So he grew up, and his painting quickly and big was graffiti in Tzfat was his first canvases. Right. And as a teenager growing up in Tzfat. And I think that he is he's already a star, but he's a rising star. He's a beautiful person with his skills are just beyond. and the expression that he brings through it's just something. It's compelling. So it's in a way it's like so simple, but it's just I really consider him I think he's really one of the greats of our times and will be, and really really treasure him. And another artist who's also, people know him very well, but should be known as well as possible, is Avraham Lowenthal. He's a neighbor in Tzfat, and he does Kabbalah art. And he actually really kind of welcomed me into the artist community in Tzfat when I first came, and helped me get started, helped me show me like how do you have a gallery and what do you do. He's very friendly in that way, and really giving in that way. And he makes very, very fine, beautiful art. He's exploring, and now also with, different. He's done many waves of artwork based on the shofar blast
and the sounds. And
then he started to do it with some of the AI and what
Wow.
and some very cool stuff is coming through, and it's just. Where it's coming from, the inspiration, the content is just good. It's just good stuff, and he's a good guy. And the art comes out. It's refined. It's like very beautiful and holy. Like not just stam Kabbalah art, like you see some letters, but like refined beauty-wise, and all the meaning is there as well. So it's a very special level. And another artist who might be a little bit less known is a friend of mine. Abby Lennon Sapir. So she's also a student and also a colleague, friend. And she's a beautiful artist, painter, and she does painting workshops. She lives in Paris Chana now, but she came to Tzfat for a few years to do glassblowing with me. She was my apprentice for a few years. And she also just has very beautiful, very real approach, very fresh, and alive, and I think more people should know about her. I think she's really great.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Simcha.
And the last question that we close the episode with is, what's your advice for young creatives for them to find their orange socks?
Such an important question. So I think what's most important is to do. I think to think too much about it and decide too much about it, it ends up never happening. And if you have an inclination towards making some kind of art, just try and try a lot, and try openly and without judging yourself. Just let things come through you, and through that the clarification will come what you really want to do. And less listening to the outside reactions to what you're making, like a lot less. Just do and see what happens, and also don't judge it yourself. And I'm just reflecting what I did myself, but it allowed me to find, like, I didn't know anything about glassblowing, but the way that I approached painting allowed me to find glassblowing, which is this other like whole realm that became my profession. That openness to just trying and seeing what something is, it opened up for a whole life. And I believe that's true for every single person. And it's not only that, it's important. Like, the advice is like, what is coming through you is important, whether or not anyone outside tells you.
Right. Sheva Chaya, thank you. Thank you so much. This is really, really special.
Simcha, thank you. Appreciate it very much.
היום נעשה משהו בלתי נשכח